Good morning, YouTube. Well, today I'm at the site of a Seneca Nation village that had been populated for 1,000 years. It really became well known when the Europeans came through, mid 1600s, and it's, forgive me if I mispronounced it, but it's Ganongadan. And there, at one point, there was a 150 longhouses with up to like 5,000 people. There's a reproduction of a longhouse here behind me with bark structures, and we'll go in a minute and take a look around. It's pretty cool. I was here when it was new, and many years ago, and since then they have now added a large center. They've got auditorium and a very nice display with artifacts and just story about the place. So let's take a look inside. So I said it's a bark structure. Ones we saw in the Pacific Northwest, they had the bark on the outside of the supports. Here it was done on the inside, and this bark is actually not bark. It's a mold made from the bark of an elm tree. So there's lots of different patterns, but that way it'll last a little longer. We head inside here. So the entranceway would have been common use for storage and whatnot. A couple of fish traps where there'd be a cover on the one end. The other end, there's points going in. The fish could swim in, but they couldn't swim back out. Very nice. They're made out of ash. All right, so you would have had sleeping along the bottom, on the top, storage, the fire pits down the middle with the smoke holes along the top. And of course, you would have had your corn and stuff hanging up to dry. The hangings along the wall are made out of grass and woven mixture of materials. But things like the war clubs would have been made out of ironwood, because the root's in a ball, and they could sand it down, carve it down, get it, and it dries light, but they're very strong. So, you know, you get hit with one of those, you're going to have a cracked skull. And of course, once the Europeans came in, there'd be metal, iron pots and stuff, but still lots and lots of baskets. And some things, where is it? Oh, back here. Some things would have still, you know, been made out of bark. So you got a arrow quiver made out of bark. It should be easy to soak it, slip it off a tree, put a bottom in it, if you're what you're doing. But there was all kinds of things. Like I said, a lot of the baskets made out of ash and oak, but you still got little bags made out of some sort of fibers. It's a unusual blanket made out of trash pandas. Okay, raccoons. So this village was destroyed by the French in early 1600s, and they came in, and eventually the Iroquois made peace with the French and promised not to side with either the French or the English. So the major crops of the Iroquois were, they note them as the Three Sisters, the corn, beans, and you got some squash over here, all in hills, so they would all help sustain each other. The beans put nitrogen in, being a legume, so Between those three, they made a nice, that was the basis of the agriculture. And of course, if you cook all three together, you get succotash. You know, you've heard of it, you never had it. So you've heard me talk about the Seneca, talk about the Iroquois. The Seneca were part of the Iroquois Confederacy, which were 5 tribes joined together by the Peacemaker, with his helper Hiawatha. Hiawatha is a real person. The Seneca were the keepers of the Western Gate, and there was the Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Mohawk. And the Mohawks were the keepers of the Eastern Gate. They all joined together. This was way before the Europeans got here, and the chiefs of the tribes would meet regularly, settle any kind of disputes, and one of the things was that the chiefs would all eat together with no sharp implements. They'd all eat out of the same bowl, because basically that was the idea. They're all eating out of the same bowl. We're still all together on this earth. And in 1722, the Tuscarora joined. So now it's the 6 nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. And you may have heard this in school. I know in Western New York, we all did, is that the Thomas Jefferson and the Founding Fathers based a lot of the principles this country is founded on the principles of the Iroquois Confederacy. So there you go, little history. Well, that ends my visit to Ganongadan, and if you get a chance, it's near Victor, New York, which is just south of Rochester, and very interesting spot. I was here, I guess they built the Longhouse 19 years ago, and I was here probably 17 years ago. So it's interesting now that they got this new building. It's only a couple years old. So anyway, that's the end of my day here, and I'm going to get back on the road, travel a few more miles, find a spot for lunch. See you later, YouTube. So I had a request to see the tattoo. This is the newest one I got. So a Tree of Life, and they got a few others, but this is the one I got back in Chardon. So hopefully that comes out. And I was here years ago when it was new, and since then, helicopter. Anyway, I was here when it was new, and the well, let me